My name is Jerry Gill. Today is September 22, 2010. I'm visiting with Montie Box in his office in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. This interview is for the O State Storage Project of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. Montie, appreciate you taking time to visit with us this morning. I know you got a lot of good OSU and OSU Alumni Association history.
Well, my blood's a little bit orange, like yours, Jerry. You know, there's an old ball player and an old Aggie that. Well, you were an OSU boy, you know. We all have the same kind of blood, I think, bleed orange.
Montie, before we get into maybe some of the OSU stuff, kind of step back and ask you about your early history.
Sure.
A little about your family, where you grew up, okay?
Yeah. Well, my mom and dad were from down in Comanche, Duncan, that area, and they came up here. Dad was an OSU guy back in 1928. He was over there as an AGR, and decided he'd rather get married and have a lot more fun and try to raise some chickens down there in Comanche. He couldn't do it there, so he came up to Oklahoma and here in the Tulsa area. Broken arrow to begin with, and then became associated with the Sand Springs Home Farms. Dad became one time the Sand Springs Home Farms were the largest diversified farms in the Southwest. We had anything you name it. We had hogs, sheep, cattle, chickens. In fact, Dad was made the manager of the poultry division. We used to trap nest chickens and made all kinds of history. Dad ended up showing the Grand Champion Berkshire Sow at the International World's Fair in 1939. He raised the first 50-pound turkey, showed in Chicago. Dad had quite a history in ag. And then the feed boys came in and put him out of business. So he came in here in our company and started selling farm and ranches. And little by little, he was the best friend I ever had. My mom was a red-headed little fiery gal that cared about kids. I went to a little two-room country school where we started every morning with the Pledge of Allegiance, the Lord's Prayer, and a little Bible story. And it was it, 2 rooms. She taught me more, and she was kind of a second mother, a 4-H club coach. Taught me about head health, hands and health, heart, hands and health, and 4-H. I showed all kinds of cattle. I was the first FFA boy in Sand Springs as a junior in college. We didn't have an FFA chapter in Sand Springs at that time. And after I graduated here in Sand Springs High School, went on to Stillwater, and I wanted to show a short-horn heifer over there. And anyway, I came back here, and a guy named Clyde Browers was our new VOAG teacher here. And I was his first at-large student. Showed over there and won that the FFA and 4-H, and then went on and kicked an old boy from Waterloo, Iowa in the open division. And my blood was ag, but at the same time, I wanted to go more into the business end of it, Jerry. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a couple quick questions. Brothers and sisters?
Oh, yeah, I have a sister, Judy. Judy was an OSU grad. She was a ComEg over there in Stillwater, good gal. Yeah, one. And she's a little younger than I am, but sweetheart gal, yeah. Married an OSU guy, so.
You're talking about your two-room schoolhouse, so this was a 8th grade rural school, then you graduated from there into
Sand Springs High School.
Yeah. What was the name of your school?
Well, it's Tanglewood.
Tanglewood?
Tanglewood, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's closed now, doggone it all. Mm-hmm. But, I learned more there from that teacher than I did any other through my university years. She cared about her students. My sister was a school teacher, and my daughter, Gill, is a school librarian here at the present time in our Charles Page High School. So our education goes back. I don't tell too many people, but I had an uncle who was kind of like my big brother who became Dean of Men at Oklahoma University, Dr. Jody C. Smith. He was down there when Dr. Cross was there. And when I was president of the Alumni Association, we had a running battle with one another. But he gave me a reserve parking ticket down at the OU games, and some of my OU buddies always wondered how I got that pass.
Well, so education obviously was real strong in your family. Were there other values, Monty, and principles that you learned growing up?
Well, the only thing that, I married a girl that, I went to work for her father, Ray Brown, who was my mentor. He cared, and he said, son, in the business, in real estate, there's no gray areas. It's either black or it's white. My dad used to tell me, son, the integrity, don't ever judge a man by the cut of his clothes. Please always treat him like an equal. And always, if you make a deal, stand with it if it takes all the hide. And those are some of the things that I've always thought about in my business through the years and tried to keep it that way. Yes.
Well, Monty, I think I can kind of guess the answer, and I say what influenced you enrolled at Oklahoma State. You had your ag background. You said your dad was a graduate.
Oh, well, Dad wasn't a graduate.
But he was a
former student. Times were tough back then. And, there's a lot, Dad didn't have any money, and it was hard. He went over there to Stillwater, and he milked cows before and after school to make that freshman year he made. But he was an AGR. He was a good boy, yeah. And, yes.
So, Monty, what year did you enroll at Oklahoma State?
I enrolled at 47, yeah, 47, yes.
Did you live on campus?
I lived on campus, and I lived there in the Sig Alpha house. I was just sleep and eat like somebody else like Jerry.
So Sig Alpha is?
Sig Alpha is my boys.
Sigma Alpha Epsilon.
Sigma Alpha Epsilon, yes,
okay.
sir. Yeah.
Now, as I understand, there's another lesser-known person who's in your class.
Yeah, we all know T. Boone Pickens, but I had some wonderful guys that, the guys that like Fred Oglesby, who was a lot of people don't really maybe realize that was T. Boone's mentor. He was the one that geology that taught T. Boone more of geology than some of those professors did. And good guy. Yeah, I had lots of good friends over there in the Sig Alpha house.
Monty, can you talk a little bit about your student experience at Oklahoma State?
Oh, yeah.
Activities you're involved in?
I was, as a freshman, my first semester, I enrolled in school of commerce. I didn't think I wanted to be an ag, and then I thought, well, hey, and my background, I think I can just, I made the Dean's Honor Roll the first time. I thought, well, I can really get on with it if I go in the School of Ag. Was I in for a rude awakening? When you have to take 8 hours of chemistry, botany, entomology, bacteriology, all the other things that you have to take. Soils was one of the tough ones. Well, Jerry, it wasn't that easy. But my first year, I worked. Yes, I worked. I worked I was a kitchen boy at the Kappa Delta house. The best job you can get, I think, on the campus is it's kitchen boy. And then I got married my junior year, and then really things began to get a little tough. And I was in the Naval Reserve at the time, making $10 a month. Got married, and I thought I needed more money, so I got an advanced ROTC my second semester, and gosh, it's down in Fort Hood, Texas, and the dadgum Korean War broke out. Jerry, they took all of us old boys in the School of Ag that were in advanced ROTC and put us in the infantry. I was an old 1542 infantry platoon leader, And anyway, went through college. I worked over in the economics department part-time, doing a study on long stem cotton.
Ag econ.
Ag econ. I was, I kind of helped in my senior year work through some of the, where they paid you a little bit to help out some of them freshman boys and girls over there. I was president of the Aggie X Club.
And that Aggie X Club is
part of the Ag Economics. It is the Ag Economics
honorary.
Mm-hmm. In fact, Betty and I this year will give some dollars to to the ag department, and we're going to give, and we've been giving for years, dollars at Tulsa OSU to give to the TCC students who graduate from TCC and go on to OSU charity.
What were there some professors, administrators
Boggs.
that influenced your
Oh yeah,
development?
Boggs, a guy named Boggs was over in the economics department, was a good guy. He was strong. He was a strong business person. And one thing about that school that I remember that stuck with me, I also had a money and banking class. That, they said the longest business cycle at that time was real estate. And as soon as I got out of the Army, I came back, and within 2 weeks I had a job with my father-in-law. But the night before, it had been 24 hours later, I'd been working for International Harvester. It's a funny thing of how things in your life changed here, just at the quirk of things that come along. And it came along at the right time, and I went to work for Mr. Brown for $300 a month, and that's a lot of money, we thought. 300, you have a wife and child, it doesn't go very far.
So, Monty, then you graduated in what year?
1951.
51, and then did you?
Straight in the Army.
Straight in the Army, and did you?
Straight in the Army for 2 years. I went over. In fact, I was one of the only one that I know out of our whole unit that went to Europe.
So you didn't go to Korea?
I didn't go to Korea. And, I wondered still, Jerry, how I did it. I checked in I went to Fort Benning, and then went on out to Camp Roberts, California. And I checked in out there, and this old bird colonel named Waters. And I still wonder if he was the Waters that was Patton's son-in-law. I want to find that history out, because I knew he was an old World War II veteran, and he had, every star there was. And anyway, he looked at my form, and he said, he kind of started grinning at me. And he said, "You're from Comanche, Oklahoma?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You got half the man that your dad was. I want you right here in regimental headquarters." That was my first coaching job, and he was the best right guard I ever had.
Where was this?
It was in Camp Roberts, California.
So it was
Well, I'd been to Fort Benning.
Army football team?
Well, no. Now, my dad was in high school. It was a high school when he was a coach. He coached him, but before he ever went in the Army.
Okay.
He was a football coach.
At Comanche High School?
Comanche High School. See, it's a small world. And he did. He took a liking to me and made me assistant adjutant. And my job was to kind of keep things in order. And, I court-martialed all the AWOLs and all that good stuff. But next thing I know, he's got me, I'm going to the intelligence school up in Fort Riley, Kansas. And I went overseas. And next thing I know, I'm over there. They made me the acting legal officer of the regiment. I said, for a degree in agriculture, that sounds like the Army, But it was a good time.
That's great. Just real quick, going back to your undergraduate experience at Oklahoma State.
Yes.
At that time, Monty, this would have been, in the late 40s, early 50s.
Yes.
What were some of the favorite student hangouts at that time?
Oh, well, we had swims. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Swims was always there. And then we had the coffee shop. Remember the frat house? The old frat house there between the Chi Omega house and the Sig Alpha house. And that was where everybody hung out for coffee. But, swims was down there, My dad told me about the time that he was over there when the Aggies and the engineers used to really have a rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And they made him as a freshman stand up on the fire plug over there in front of swims and make a speech. I remember that so plainly.
Lord.
But,
Well, now, was the student union, was it built?
Student union was built the year that I was a senior,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It was finished. We had Tommy Dorsey live. Yeah, baby. But, we used to bring in all kinds of good talent over there. And I remember the first time I heard Stan Kenton, it blew me out of the auditorium. I wasn't used to that kind of music. that loud.
So your senior year was the first year in the student union?
Yes.
Was that pretty special?
Oh, very special.
Man.
Oh, yeah. It was uptown, boy.
Now, was the student, was it up on the 5th floor at that time?
Yes.
Was that where the big student hangout was?
Yep, yep. And you know, at that time too, Jerry, they were doing all the beautification, and the old Theta Pond was right there. I got thrown in it when I got engaged and pinned and whatever, and it was still there. But the rest of it was a lot of good smell of cow manure sometimes. You know, the old fertilizer that was there.
Organic fertilizer?
It was organic, boy, yeah.
Well, Monty, what do you remember about President Bennett? Was he not your president?
Oh, he was Mr. President, guys. He did, you know, you wonder why that university was built. It was Dr. Bennett. Mm-hmm. You know, him and Bob Kerr, you know, some of them strong, good old Baptist old boys all ran together, and let me tell you, they got it done. Dr. Bennett was so strong. In fact, I was offered when I came back to go back to Ethiopia under the 4-point program, where Dr. Bennett was killed over there, remember, in the plane crash. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, I've been overseas enough. I didn't want any more of that.
Did you get a chance to meet Dr. Bennett personally?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. He was, yes. Because I was president of the Aggie X Club, and I was on the Aggie Council my senior year. Well, yeah. And he was a student. He cared about his students. Mm-hmm. Dr. Wilhelm, though, was my dean of ag. He enrolled every one of us boys personally.
The dean did? Dean Wilhelm.
Yeah, Dean Wilhelm.
Wow.
Before he became president, he actually physically sat down with every student at ag school and went over your schedule and making sure that you had it right.
I've heard that he rarely ever forgot a name, and that he could also connect your hometown.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
Do you remember some examples of that? Did you ever bump into him
I don't remember
later?
how really anything about Sand Springs with him, but he was very personal. Yes, very personal. He cared. He cared about it. The whole every teacher I had, we had an Aggie engineering teacher that taught my father, Fuzzy Hazen. Fuzzy Hazen. He's always wanted to show us his house that was underground. He built it underground up there north. We went up there and saw his house. And but he said, now boys, I'll tell you what, if you don't learn anything else out of this class, this Aggie engineering class, when I come to visit you, I want to be able to see your mailbox that with your name printed properly on that mailbox. Why I remember that is so plain, but we did, boy. We learned how to make those letters.
Now, I heard some of his sayings referred to as fuzzyisms.
It was fuzzyisms.
Do you remember some of those?
Oh, no. He had so many of them. But the one that character was the old doc that took all the photographs.
Doc Pruitt?
Pruitt. Oh, my Lord, yeah. He and I became real good friends. In fact, I had been a school photographer in high school, and went over there. I already knew how to develop black and white and knew pretty much photography. But I took that photography class. And a guy by the name of Reggie Lovenholtz, I remember him, and I sat right on that front row that first day in the class. And he started telling me these jokes. And we were laughing. They were funny. Anyway, he said, I want to know, you two boys right there in front, I want your names. And so we gave my names, and he says, well, boys, you got an A in this class just for laughing at my jokes. And sure enough, I made an A in that class.
Now, let me back up. Doc Pruitt was one that took all the party pics. Shots
All
for all
the party
student
pics,
events.
in other words, all this, every dance was there. He'd always have them, Jerry, and I've got a photograph. I'm one of the few guys that he actually even got in a photograph with my sweetheart and I between us. I've got the old top hat with him.
You'll donate that to the Special Collections Library, and a copy of it.
I can get you a copy of it. I sure will, because he was one of a kind. He was a good photographer and a good guy. He loved to get those good-looking women in the back of the dark room, though. but he was harmless. He was a good teacher, good man.
That's great. Well, so I need to ask this. We'll kind of jump back forward. You get out of the war. You come back to Sand Springs, working for your father-in-law,
Yes.
$300 a month.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about your career and how that developed?
Well, it was, yeah, we were the insurance. We were a small little office, real estate and insurance, and that was it. We worked hard, you know. We didn't have that little office, no air conditioning, concrete floors, high ceilings, and I wore a shirt and tie every day to work. And I would go out and basically that time I was more in general insurance, not life insurance, general insurance. And he said, "Now, son, I'll give you 50% of the commission of everything you sell." And we had a deal. In 5 years, he'd sell out to me. Anyway, I'd go out and make that policy and come back and type that policy up. I would deliver it, collect it, bring it back, and put it in there. And then he said, "Well, it's time, son, you to learn a little about real estate." It's time you made some investments. And he had already made me buy a little old duplex. And I didn't know how I was going to make the monthly payments, but I never missed one. We had it rented all the time. And that was my first investment. But it was kind of like, let's see, before we really ever, even being in the real estate, it was 9 years before I ever was able to buy a house and buy my own home. 2 years in college, 2 years in the, and then 5 years in working. And finally we did.
So what year did you start then with the business?
In 1953.
And this is 2010.
Yeah.
Wow.
50 some odd good years in Sand Springs.
7 years, give or take.
Yeah. Well, more than that, Jerry, 55 plus. And Sand Springs has been my home. I love it. But Oklahoma's our home, Jerry. You and I, you got your roots deep in the OSU. You know what I'm saying? Oklahoma's a good place. They care about people. Sand Springs was founded by Charlie Page, who was a caring person. He would, if you want to bring your industry here in Sand Springs, here, I'll give you for $1 a year, partner. That'll look at what your land will cost you, but bring your people. Yeah. So he built it. And the Sand Springs home owned the railroad. They owned the bank. They owned all the town site company, all the real estate. You name it. They had an orphanage. Today, they have 100 and some odd, what we call the village, of ladies that have no place else to go. Their husbands gone, left them, whatever. They have the privilege of staying there, Jerry, until they decide they have got enough money to leave. They also have an orphanage, and it's all through the Charles Page Trust. There's trustees that were set up by the Grand Master of the Masonic Lodge. Those appointments. There's 3 left. And anyway, those people have this philanthropy of giving, and they don't get one dime from the city, the state, federal, nobody. That's all through that trust of dollars that was set up through the years.
Well, Monty, I know you're pretty modest guy, but can you talk about some of the things you've done, civic and in the community? Some highlights. Well, you couldn't talk about them here you'd be all day long, but some highlights.
Well, highlights, real estate.
No, just in what you done in the community.
Well, in the community, yeah. Well, I was, I got really involved with our Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's when I started really getting with it, and that's when I started going with it. I thought the only way that we could ever do anything, Jerry, is transportation. Mm-hmm. And I worked very diligently with a couple of guys, one being Scott Orbison and Houston Adams both, who were pro-highway, pro-active, Tulsa Chamber, proactive, and they put me kind of under their wing, and I helped, and we started working on the expressways. And as a result, I remember the time that I was trying to get the old Keystone Dam built, and we got it built. Mm-hmm. And then we wanted to change the road from Tulsa, the oil capital, to the wheat capital. And we had a big Bob Kerr night here. and we wanted Highway 64 running on the north side. And he said, well, where do you want it? And we showed him, and he said, in 24 hours, Jerry, it was done. It was done. Yeah, you know, and we built the bridge, and now we have that big highway. And then the next thing, of course, getting involved in OSU, I wanted the turnpike. But before that, Jerry, we were trying to get a better road to Stillwater. And back up a little bit. I was president of our Chamber of Commerce when we brought the Hissam Center in here, which was the largest mental retardation program that was ever in the United States at one time. So old man Hissam. And we talked Oklahoma A&M out of that land that he had given to him out there for the use of the retardation program. And Stillwater, Oklahoma State, was kind enough to give it to us. But local-wise, I was president of the Chamber, I was president of the Lions Club, I was active in our Salvation Army, I was two-term chair of the Salvation Army Board. I think you got to give back to your community. If you're going to take something out, you've got to give back, Jerry, and become really part of it.
Monty, you've been active in your church as well, have you not?
Oh yeah, we Methodist Church. I'm a good old Methodist, 70-some years, yeah. And it's yeah. Sand Springs has always had a great group of God-fearing people and churches, yes.
Monty, and again, I hope you'll be honest here, not too modest. Can you talk about some recognitions, some honors you received that are especially important to you?
Well, from OSU, being president of the Alumni Association, I'm a distinguished alum back in, I forget what year, 78, I believe it was. I was, as far as the Oklahoma Association of Realtors, I was president of the Tulsa Metropolitan Board of Tulsa. I was president of the Oklahoma Association of Realtors. I was the 4 states, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas. I was the regional VP for the National Association. Jerry, we're over 1 million people in our association. I've been on their RPAC, the Realtor PAC. I've served on every committee, the Finance Committee. I was recognized, Jerry, probably the highest honor I've ever had was as I was made a realtor, top realtors of the United States. There's only been recognized through those many years since we were formed back in the 20s, 70 some odd real estate people that ever made that list. And there's still 40 some of us that are alive. And we recognize probably 2 out of that 1 million every year. And I happened to be one of them one year.
Wow, special.
And it was very special, Jerry. Very special for Oklahoma even to have someone. We've had a national president, Tommy Grant, who's right here in Tulsa, was a national president one year. A guy by the name of Al Burgess got me started in the realtor group. And you remember those type of people, Jerry, that kind of put you under their wing and help you along. Because nobody does it by themselves. No.
You mentioned the Alumni Association of Oklahoma State University.
Oh, yes.
And
Merle Rogers.
Let's focus there just a little bit. You served many years and in numerous leadership roles in the Alumni Association, as you indicated, including your 10 years national president of the Alumni Association. So let's talk a little bit about your Alumni Association experience. Is that okay?
Right.
So, did you begin your service here at the local chapter level?
Yes, right here.
Okay.
I became president of our Tulsa County chapter through some guys, like I said, through some good buddies of mine that thought I had some potential as an old cowboy. And anyway, really, I remember one time, Jerry, when we were trying to build that road, before we had the turnpike, we were trying to get a road from Sand Springs or Tulsa to Stillwater on old Highway 51. And we had the dadgumdest fight over there and down the state, and one of those state senators down there, we were going down there, we had to have a bridge. And I remember he made a speech down there at the Capitol. My grandson will just be fishing off of that bridge because there'll never be a car pass on it. Well, there's lots of cars passed on it, Jerry. And one night we had a Bureau of Roads hearing in Alton, Oklahoma. And it was a tough deal, but you had to have the hearing. And Houston Adams and I said, well, we need some more people. I said, why don't we ask some other folks maybe to go with us? And so we did. We asked Senator Bartlett.
It's Dewey Bartlett.
Dewey Bartlett, and at that time I was a strong Democrat, and still am, but I vote Republican more. But anyway, I said, he was a senator, I said, Senator, would you go down with us and help tell those boys at Alton we're going to bypass them? Because it's not an easy thing to do. It's a terrible thing to do. But that's the road. That's the way it's going to be, and they can move out there and do their thing, and I think it'll all work out. Well, yes, I will. And he did. And Jerry, I'm glad that there have some highway patrolmen there that night after it was over. I think that they'd hung Houston and Dewey and I all together. But that night when we came back, I said to Dewey Bartlett, I said, Dewey, if you ever have aspirations to go on to be a higher office, let me know. One night I get a phone call. Monty, I want to run for governor. I'm your man. Monty, I want to run for U.S. Senate. I'm your man.
He got some leverage out of that vote.
Oh, he did, but let me tell you, he was probably one of the finest people for Oklahoma we've ever had. He was a great man. We need a lot more of those.
Monty, and differentiating between the local chapter and the National Association, what was the local chapter doing at the time? We're talking mid-50s here?
Yeah, they were getting started, getting going. I never really got as active in the Tulsa chapter, of course, as I did in the national. And I think basically that was because of Merle Rogers. You know Merle, and he was, because you were the one that took his spot over there, Jerry, and you did a hell of a job during that time, and you know what he did. We had these banquets. I mean, we were having a banquet, it seemed like every place, every night. I don't know how in the God's green earth that he made all those banquets all over the state of Oklahoma. You were right with him, a lot of them, Jerry. You know what I'm saying. And I remember when we came over here to Tulsa, had that big one. My gosh, it was a big thing. And we got sued and said nobody thought we could ever get because of those banquets.
No, kind of put in perspective, Merle come in 1955.
Oh, I guess director. I don't remember. You know, he and his sweetheart wife, and trying to remember.
I think it was about 55.
55, probably. Because I got active, in the 60s. Yeah.
Well, back up with did you remember A.O. Martin, who preceded him?
I knew him, but that's all.
Didn't
I
never
never
work with him?
No, I never was really. No, never was. No, not with him.
So A.O. was like 23 years as alumni executive director, and then Merle Rogers 25 years behind him. Well, tell me about Merle now. I mean, just his personality a little bit.
Oh, personality. He never met a stranger. We'd go on those. We had a road trip. Let's say, 23 straight years. I went down to the neutral field down there at Little Rock, Arkansas. You remember that?
I do. I do.
Oh yes. But he was always setting up the alumni parties and this and that, and it was just one of these type of things that he never let his feet touch the ground, and he did a lot of things for Oklahoma State University.
I heard he was an unbelievable worker.
Oh, worker. Well, I was with those old boys like old Walt Woolley. Old Walt was such a great guy, and I miss him so. Frederick Drummond. The Drummond family's always been part and parcel of our university. But those two, they knew how to get it up off the ground and get things going. And they were always team players. I don't remember ever having any dissension in our alumni association. Never, Jerry. It was a working group of guys and gals that we got some things done.
There's some other names you remember you worked with, talking about Walt Woolley and so. How about some other people you worked with in that era?
Well, our bridge builder. What was
Veldo?
Veldo Brewer. Oh, Veldo he was another boy. He was and Fred Thompson. There's so many of them. I wouldn't want to start naming because I'd sure leave out a bunch of them.
Charlie Thompson, that era?
Oh, yeah. God, they were good guys. Really. In fact, we've had, you picked up the pieces, when Merle left, and you continue to have those top leaders type of people to come in here and do their thing in the association. And it's made us a lot stronger. I think, though, that, we look back, I think that Scott Orbis and I used to stand before your alumni association and scream and yell, we've got to have a better presence for education for Oklahoma State and northeastern Oklahoma, Tulsa. Tulsa's your market. You have more students coming from Tulsa than any other place. And we're not going to, and there was some division at that time. Well, we don't want to hurt any of our merchants over here. You're not going to hurt any merchants. We're going to bring students. That's what we're going to do. We're going to bring them both ways. But we have got to have a better connection. And that's when we really started yelling and screaming to try to get it done. And from there, we started on that turnpike. And that was my #1 program the year I was president, 1968. I said...
68, 69, was that your year?
That was the year. I think that was it. That we were going to do that turnpike. And you look at it, boy, we did it. We had that thing, it was done deal less than, I think, 4 years later.
Well, explain a little bit, Monty, how was the Alumni Association involved in that?
Oh, we just got with the program. We went down to the state capitol and started Aggies, and Cowboys for the turnpike. And we got into Tulsa. I was on the better roads, I got our Tulsa Chamber involved. I got the Enid Chamber of Commerce involved. So we could all get together on this
both
thing.
ends of the turnpike.
You know it. And we worked solid together.
Now, Monty asking, a key component of that is, the person I know here is that's what I'll call the spur off of the main turnpike to Stillwater.
Yes.
That was Alumni Association and Merle Rogers was pretty involved. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, in other words, yeah. In other words, there was some time, though, well, we'll build it, but we don't know how you're going to get to Stillwater. And of course, we were trying to get as close to Stillwater as we could get and still have a straight line. So we really, I think, was a compromise, basically, on that T. And it worked out well. It worked out well. At least, really, in retrospect, when you get out of that ball game over there and you're coming back home, it's solid, 75 miles an hour goes down that road, bumper to bumper nearly, all the way home. And it gave that emphasis of a little bit of a break in getting up there to the T. So in retrospect, I think it was I wanted it closer, but now in looking back in hindsight, the highway department did it right.
So you're talking about the Honors Bank was another big program.
Oh, Honors Bank.
Can you talk a little bit about the Honors Bank?
Oh, it was wonderful.
What is an Honors Bank?
Well, in other words, that's what we did. We honored those students that coming out of high school that we wanted to come to Stillwater.
Like top 10%.
Top 10 or whatever it was. I don't remember what we wanted them all to come really, but we were trying to get some more of those top 10, and we have. You look at our record. We're now still getting the best ones. I saw here in Sand Springs the other day where 30 of our kids graduated last year from Oklahoma State University. Graduates.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
And they all did
So,
something.
Monty, how did the honors banquet work? So you invited the students from this, was it the senior class originally, then did it evolve to the junior classes you started
Yeah,
inviting?
well, we wanted to get them, yeah, sorry, but you have to get, you've got to plant that seed early.
Mm-hmm.
And the earlier that you can plant it, even in grade school, we've got, it's like my, kids and my nephews, they're all, their kids are all in orange and, every weekend but education, Jerry, is the key. I remember when there was a certain president down south screamed and yelled at me that OSU should never be bringing things to Tulsa. That's going to bring the whole thing about education to, we won't have enough appropriations and money to bring it. And I looked him right in the eye and said, "Sir, it's coming. You might want to get on board if you want to." But we did. And that's when I was really involved by that time in our community college. I was a regent for Tulsa Community College for 12 years, Jerry.
Tulsa Community College.
Tulsa Community College, which we take those kids and mold them. And my wife and I have been giving scholarships for the last 10, whenever I have since it was all, for young people who graduate from TCC that want to go on to OSU, Tulsa. And we have a banquet with those kids and get to know them every year. And it's 101, and it's a wonderful little program. But Tulsa's, northeastern Oklahoma now has a better education than we've ever had. We now have our seamless through Tulsa Community College. Every class that you take is seamless to OU, OSU, Northeastern, wherever they want to go. They're every one of those grades, all those, because there's no secondary type school. We're now one of the largest, we got 4 campuses and one of the largest campuses, but we don't get involved other than that first 2 years. And if you come to town and you bring an industry in here, we'll help you do it. But I think in the future, Jerry, Tulsa has got to continue to grow OSU Tulsa. We're doing the research over there, but there's been some hang-ups over there that we hope we're getting those ironed out. Howard now is going to do a good job, but we've had such good guys running our universities through these years.
Yeah, Gary Trenipo.
Oh, Gary Trenipo was one of a kind. One of a kind. He was another Bob Calm, as far as I'm concerned. And Trenipo was he was such a powerful, quiet, but yet he spoke up when it came down to the nitty-gritty, believe me.
So, just sort of summarizing, you're involved in pretty powerful things with the Alumni Association, your leadership, the Turnpike, to Stillwater.
Yes.
You said the OSU Tulsa getting it, get it formed and off the ground going. The honors banquet you were working with, you were doing what, about 60 some odd of those around the state a year?
I didn't make 10 of those, but Merle Rogers and what was the young man that ran the second guy with him?
Ray Sharp.
Ray Sharp. Oh, Ray was right there. He was his guy. Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember. Good gosh, he was such a great guy, and he did such a good job, as you have, Jerry, through these years. I remember watching you play football, boy. Oh, yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Oh, no, yeah. You were on the team that only beat OU twice in a row, buddy. And that didn't happen every day. I loved it. I was there, both of them.
Well, kind of looking at program, we're talking about sort of some of the programs, but this was a kind of a transitional period when you first started the Alumni Association through your leadership, because we went from A.O. Martin to Merle Rogers to then Merle really with his creativity developed a lot of programs.
Well, I don't know when the distinguished alumnus came about, but it was I think it was about, there hadn't been too many when I was in there.
During the Hall of Fame also.
All the Hall of
Fame
came in there.
Mm-hmm.
We've had such great people in our Hall of Fame. We've had, You know, we have some good distinguished people.
Monty, in your time when you were on the board, on the executive committee and president, what were the key, I'm not thinking about programs here, but what were the key challenges for the Alumni Association? I'm thinking about maybe, financing relationships with units in the university, et cetera. What were some of your challenges?
Thing, you know, we've had these cowboys for Oklahoma. We started that program where we have I think a political voice down in Oklahoma City. We find out who those old cowboys are and that have been elected, and we make sure that they understand us, as well as some of the other guys that are.
Was that HEACO, Monty?
HEACO,
Higher Education Alumni Council of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Started in that era.
Yeah, I was on that board and forever and ever and ever, and went down to Oklahoma City and lobbied for OSU for many, many hours, Jerry. Yes.
And under the guise of higher education as well, but right?
Yes.
At OSU and higher education.
Higher education, higher education, higher education, and education. You know, Jerry, I one of my top things I've done in our community was I was in our 35th year we decided we'd do a box supper.
Box supper. Monty Box supper.
Box supper. And I said, we're going to have this supper, but I said, hey guys, we're going to have a supper, but bring something for education tonight. And preferably a check. And we had already made up our mind that night, Jerry, that we would, our company would match anything that we raised that night to start a education foundation. And we did, and our goal was $1 million corpus, and we went by that a long time ago. We've given out probably $700,000 in grants. We've affected some 8,000 students in our community here. We're proud of our education foundation, but a lot of that came because of Oklahoma State University's guidance on how to get some things done and how to get that education foundation going. And there again, I bless David Bourne for helping out on that program. He did. He came up here and we started one night, and when he was a United States Senator, and helped me out. And I told David one time, I said, you'll go down for education though rather than what you were as a governor or a senator. And now, gosh, we've got a president, Burns Hargis, that's a stem winder. You know, he's the one that tapped out some of my good buddies, and you know it, and I know it. And there was another good Sig Alf, Jerry, named Sherm Smith. Sherm Smith had a lot of influence on T. Boone Pickens.
Sherman Smith in Texas.
Yes, Sherman Smith right here in Tulsa.
Tulsa, right there.
Right here, oil. He's the one that really helped, in fact, if you ever ask him, he'll tell you, I'm sure, that Sherm Smith, and Sherm is he's still a great person, great Sig Alf, but a great oil man and a great businessman, and helped Oklahoma State University at times. As long as another one guy, Frank Robinson. Frank's been my friend, and we've worked education together. We've worked OSU together. We've worked Walmart together, since that's his brother-in-law, Sam Walton. And Frank has done probably for Claremore, just unreal for Oklahoma. He's another guy that I look up to.
Kind of one more time when you were president, were there some issues you were struggling with? What about your budget? About
we had
board
budget. Of
organization?
course, money was it always has been, and anything we get into, we never have enough dollars. Our foundation, I found a little deal the other day that I gave my first dollars to OSU in 1962, and Dr. Wilhelm signed a nice letter to me. Very personal, to help out. And I don't know how much money it was. My gosh, probably $500 at the most. But at that time, Jerry, that was a lot of money, and for an old boy from Sand Springs, Oklahoma.
Probably had to pay that off in payments, didn't you?
Yeah, of course, you know, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Monty, sort of philosophically, kind of looking back and thinking about the Alumni Association, how do you feel about the engagement of alumni in the university, and how important are alumni in advancing the university?
Well, they're the whole key. In fact, we're Jerry, tomorrow night, we're hosting a deal for the Alumni Association at our home. Basically for the reason of trying to not only dollars, but, you know, that orange blood comes out in those, you're a cowboy. Once you're a cowboy, you're always a cowboy. And I think more, though, than anything else, it's for education, that we've got to be able to educate these young people. I think our university does a good job, not a better job than any other university in the whole country. I think they get down to the grassroots. I remember my uncle was, like I said, dean of men down at OU. He said, son, you know, you guys can always out-recruit us boys down at OU because you get the grassroots type people. The God-fearing young people that know how to make a living and are not afraid to stand up and be accountable.
So one of the things you're saying was valuable for alumni is actually helping attract students to Oklahoma State.
It is. The Alumni Association is there for one reason, and that's to attract good people. Yes, it's got to be perpetual. We've got to have these dollars to continue to go. My goodness, we got that student. My Lord, who would have ever dreamed that ConocoPhillips building would have ever been there, Jerry? That was a dream we had. We never even really could dream that big, you know. And now we've got an alumni center that's second to none. I mean, it's first class, and it's used and taken care of. But it's there for one reason, Jerry. It's there for the purpose of education.
Well, in what ways can the Alumni Association and your alumni collectively, but through the Alumni Association, what ways can alumni impact the university? We're talking about student recruitment, helping attract students, dollars, and other.
I think, Jerry, that somehow I feel that the Alumni Association should be given a little bit more leeway. I really do. I don't think they're as involved, you know, as much as they should be. Of course, that's my feeling, because I'm an old one of them. But I think that if they would use the Alumni Association a little bit more through the university, whatever it may be, I find that, well, we'll get into politics, but I see that they're not up here with some of the other boys, you know. And don't get me wrong, you know, you've got to have a foundation. OSU foundations out there to raise those dollars. But so is alumni. In other words, a lot of times, this old boy that starts out here at the Alumni Association, he may start out on a little salary, and before you know it, he's up here, he's making more money, and then he's the one that would, but if he has that old connection for the Alumni Association, he can give strong both ways. I just think that the Alumni Association needs a little bit more of a voice in running the university. Let's be real truthful with you.
Well, let me ask, Monty, what do you think is the appropriate organizational structure, relationship role between the Alumni Association and the university?
I can't tell you, Jerry. I really can't tell you what it should be. I just had a gut feeling that it needs to be a strong one. Well, you know, that's what it's all about. In other words, we need those alumnus. We need every guy that graduates and gal graduates to become a life member and become part and parcel, but then become active. And I think through what we're now doing, I think we're getting a stronger voice. I still think that maybe some of the banquets that we used to have were maybe we should think about it again. You couldn't do 60 of them, but you might be able to do some more of them to recruit these type of students. But then once they get there and they graduate, keep them on board. There's a lot of locked-in power and people who will do something for the university if they're just asked to do something. And I think through the Alumni Association is the way to do it. Yeah, in other words, that's exactly, get involved with the alumni. Get involved through the local chapter, stay in the national chapters, and let's get on with the program.
Okay. Monty, I'd like to pick up a little bit on the conversation we were having on kind of the importance of the Alumni Association, the university, and a little bit about its structure and role with the university. We talked about student recruitment being significant. We talked about fundraising, some of those things. You were talking a little bit about communicating with alumni.
Yes.
Can you talk about how important it is to connect alumni to each other and to the university?
Well, it's just imperative. Jerry, you were in that saddle for 20-some years. You know exactly what it's going to take. It's going to take, you have to have, number one, you got to have that faculty with you. And if you don't have the faculty, as you know, at any university, you're in trouble. So that's number one. But if you got the faculty coming in with your alumni association, I sometimes think we don't maybe touch out the faculty as much as we should through the alumni, because they're the ones who are the ones who are talking to our students day and night, and they're the ones that set that predicate of what they're going to do in their life. But I think that we have to have a real close relationship with our true leadership. And that's, I think, starts, number one, with the state regents and our OSU regents. We have got to have a strong presence. In fact, I think that, if you want to be a regent, you better be an alumnus. Active alumnus, and make sure that you've been aboard and know what the Alumni Association's about before that governor makes that appointment. Because, that's important. Because if you don't have, the strength to have somebody come in and help you figure out what's going on, it won't get done.
Monty, I'm sure in your years, probably like in any year in the Alumni Association, membership was an important program. Why is membership so important?
Well, it's important to anything. In other words, it's the university. In other words, if you're not an alumnus, you can say, and you don't have to have be a graduate to be an alumnus. A lot of people, just if they take 1 year, like my dad. Well, let me tell you, my dad was a strong alumnus. He was a life member, and but he only was able to go 1 year because of financial situation. But even then, his planting his seed in agriculture, he became one of the top people at Oklahoma A&M. Used to come over here, and he taught them how to artificial insemination and turkeys and things that they'd never even heard of, and did things with the cattle and the milking shorthorn. He was a registered judge. So that all started back in the roots, and the roots start at the alumni.
So the base of, I guess now over 200,000 alumni, but be communicating them, tying them together, and with the universities.
Yeah, but how many graduates do we have altogether?
Over 200,000 now. Over
200,000 graduates. So that means how many do we have in the Alumni Association?
You got about 30,000 members, dues paying members, so there's a little bit of...
See, the discrepancy is what I'm saying. See, we have really not even really gotten with the program to get all those guys, and I know we help them the first year or two, I guess, don't we?
Free membership,
but then we need to post it and go. Somehow or other, we need to get a more relationship, I think, with those people. And you never know when an old boy over here in Portland, Oregon, says, OSU was my home, boy. There's the one that got me started in my business, and I'm going to give back something to that university. And I'm going to start by just working in the Alumni Association and getting going. And what can I do out here? Can I get some more old OSU boys out here in Portland, Oregon to be part of my team and form an OSU group in Portland or Seattle or San Antonio or Kirkland? Well, you know, where are we going to go? I think that's important, Jerry. I really do. And we've tried it, you know, through the banquets and, but
the chapters. And
chapters,
clubs across
but
the
you
country.
just gotta, it's a matter of just being a proud cowboy. Pride, you know, and being something about an Oklahoma cowboy, something.
Heard an expression one time about the convening power of alumni. I mean, when they come together, there's in sheer numbers
Oh, yes.
of alumni, what they can get done for the university.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
See, we do that for higher education. It's been strong, you know, if Cowboys for OSU can be a lot stronger than what it is. We can really, in other words, you know, let me tell you, that's the thing about, you know, go back to Dr. Bennett. He had that power, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, he could pick up the phone and get old Bob Kerr on the phone like this, you know. Nobody, he'd call him, and I would have sure loved to have been some of those privy to some of those conversations, you know, that helped build that university. And, you know, I don't know. I have a lot of love for, I just have a lot of love for it. Always will and always have. And so my kids, you know, I got 3 graduates. My kids are all OSU grads. I hope my grandkids, my great-grandkids will be, but you never know. It's the main thing today, Jerry, is education. And if we can't do a better job than another university has them, that's fine. But we have got to be able to try to keep more of these OSU graduates in Oklahoma. We've got to be able to, in other words, I think through the Alumni Association and their contacts. I know right here in our company, we had a young lady that worked for us. Her son had just got a electrical engineering degree at OSU. And she said, well, Monty, he's going to have to go to Texas. He's going to have to get him a job. I said, what? Yeah, he can't get a job there. They've offered him, I think, start out $35,000 and some bonus. I picked up the phone and called one of my top buddies at public service here in Tulsa. In 24 hours, we had that young man signed up for Tulsa, Oklahoma. They said, we'll meet anything those boys down in Texas will do. We're looking for that kind of an engineer. You see, the contacts, if I hadn't have made one phone call, that kid had gone to Texas. So I think that, again, Sherry, is kind of like the Alumni Association should be doing more of.
What is the Alumni Association? Connections for Life?
Yes, that's
Phrase.
it. You got it, see? That's an old slogan. It is for life. It is.
Well, looking back and thinking about all the years, Monty, and I mean years you spent with Oklahoma State University, and particularly through the Alumni Association, not only your leadership years, but years come up that and years as a past president. Can you share some special memories, special moments you had of your times with the Alumni Association?
Oh, I look back, and there has been so many of them, and so many people that had an effect on my life. Scott Orbison's, I'd say, number one. Scott gave more to the state of Oklahoma and got in return. You know, he was a regent. He was so strong in Tulsa, and a voice that I appreciated. And just to be with him was he got for years that he'd say, Monty, you know, I'd like to go to the alumni. He said, but I can't, you know, I can drive over. But I said, could I ride with you? And just the moments driving over there and back and talking to him was wonderful. And some of the things that he said about OSU, his love, and for the university, were real strong. But the Walt Woolies, to be with Walt, a banker who had great, and be with, Frederick Drummond. Frederick was easygoing, but strong. Yeah. Another guy that I haven't even mentioned is Jack Zinc. Jack was a cowboy, and his son was a cowboy, and hell, they built a company here. He did everything. He did more for our alumni than you could shake a stick at. But those type of people, I remember when I was one of the parade judges. And that was Karen Keith was she was our what was they called? Anyway, she was the head honcho that year.
Parade marshal?
Parade marshal, yeah. And Karen now is our county commissioner. She's been my friend, but she's OSU, believe me. And so, you go back and those type of people, we had a lot of them that are not along, not here anymore. But I'd say some of the ball games that through the Alumni Association that we used to get together were highlights. Arkansas, for example, 23 years. But then we used to go to Texas and get our kicked. And but we all had a good time. Always had a good time.
Did you take the train down to Houston?
I took the train to Houston. Boy, yeah.
In '66.
Yeah.
In Astrodome.
Yeah, we barely made the ball game. Yeah, we barely made that ball game, but yeah, it was a.
Did the Alumni Association organize a train?
All the way
down?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they had the bar set up, for Cokes and everything right in the middle. And if you're only in to go back to get a Coke, you had to go through all those back up to the one central place. I remember that. But the train was, yeah. And then even the ones to Arkansas more than once, we had the big buses that we'd roll over there. And normally we would just drive, but it was something else.
Monty, you've looked at the Alumni Association over all these years. How do you feel about the future of the Alumni Association?
I think it's got a great future. I think we got a great future. I think it's people like you, Jerry, and Merle Rogers, and the Ray Sharps, and et cetera, that have been the backbone. And we got some good leadership coming up, and the boys that are there now. I think. What do you think, Jerry? Do you think our new man's going to make a good man?
Well, I think coming with the head of the Alumni Association, of course, Larry Shell now.
I think Larry. I thought he was a perfect guy. I really did. I think he was. He's an old cowboy that his blood's as orange as it can get. I think Larry's doing a good job. In fact, we're trying to. We're working on a couple of deals now, right now together, trying to get a little bit more money in the Alumni Association through possibly some real property.
Kind of a challenge question. How do you see the Alumni Association? Two-part question. What have been the traditional strengths of the Alumni Association it's going to need to continue to build on?
People. People. It's all people. That's exactly. It's students. And those are people. But I think that we have got to have an influence on those people who are not even alumnus to help us out. We can, I don't know what we could do. There's a lot of people out there that would like to be more connected with the Alumni Association. Maybe we can give them a 1-hour credit somehow or other for, a course and make them an alumnus. I think we need to create more numbers. I think we just need a lot more active, but not just active, but dues paying at least. Put some money in the pot, as the old saying goes. Once you can get an old boy to give you $10, he's part of your team. Sounds crazy, but it does. It makes him part of your team.
Part of that base.
At that base, and the base may grow to 10 million before it's over.
Monty, a guy told me one time, he said, the apex, the top of the pyramid, can't be any larger than the base.
That's
of the
right.
pyramid.
That's exactly right.
There's a great analogy for alumni relations. And
that's exactly what it's about. Yeah, it really is.
the more people you can bubble up.
Well, the more people you can bubble up there at the top, and just, it bubbles. It will bubble. They're not going to stay down there. No.
Well, you've remained closely connected to your alma mater,
Yes.
Monty, through the years, needless to say. Why have you been so loyal to Oklahoma State University, given so much of your time, so much of your financial resources, leadership, talent? I mean, you've given hours, hundreds, thousands of hours over the years. Why?
Why? Because I love the university. I love the university, just that plain and simple. I love Oklahoma, number one. I love Sand Springs. I love it all. I really, it's been good to my whole family all these years. And if I can't give back to something to my university, then I'm hurting. It hurt me right down inside. Just like I think one has to give back to their church and their community and their university. And maybe pretty much in that order, But I think that the university's been good to me. I've made some friends that there's no other way I could have ever made those kind of friends. They're really there. They're there. If you need them, they'll be there. I've got a partner, Bill Bryce. Bill and I have been partners ever since we got out of school. He was in School of Engineering, and I was an ag. He went in the Air Force, and I went in the infantry. And anyway, I talked him into coming to Sand Springs and starting his Bryce Engineering Company. Then we've developed Belmont Development Company. We've done probably 9 subdivisions together. He did the engineering and I did the sales. Never had but a handshake, Jerry. 50, close to 50 years of partnership. But he's an Oklahoma State guy, and I know that he knew what he was doing, and I had reliance with him, and he was a fraternity brother of mine, and it's those kind of relationships that you just don't blow off. I remember many guys like our old Sig Alpha group that turned out pretty good people. Jim Du Bois, AT&T, one of the top guys. Frank Robinson, Walmart, T. Boone Pickens, not a bad guy. Sherm Smith is a sweetheart of the world, You can go down, there's, oh my goodness, there was a guy by the name of, I'm trying to think of his name from up in Ponca City. But there's just a lot of guys.
And we could probably add Montie Box to that group too.
Well, yeah.
Monty, thinking back over the years, what have been some of your favorite just OSU memories?
Well, OSU memories?
We'd ask her about alumni.
Yeah, well, okay.
It's just OSU.
The first time I remember really anything, when I was probably 10 years old, my dad took me to an ball game at Stillwater, Oklahoma. And that's when I knew I was going to be it. And we were playing Oklahoma University. Mm-hmm. And we sat there in that rain. It poured down rain, and no one left that stadium. It was right there, and we rooted, and I think we lost, but didn't care. In other words, I became, my dad was he was solid, and I never even entered my mind that I was going to go any place but Oklahoma A&M, and I did, and it was a wonderful career,
What were some of your first impressions on the campus, Monty, when you got there? You told me as a kid looking at the ball game.
It was as a student.
As a student.
Well, I was not very smart. I didn't know how to put my classes together. I was over at the Sig Alf house. My first class was over there at Williams Hall, way the heck up to the fire deal. And the next one was over at the Student Union. And then the next, not Student Union, but the auditorium, basketball, Armory. And then the next one was over at the Dairy Building. And then I had to come back to the Kappa Delta house to have lunch. So I had to run between those classes, and then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to do this class. Well, we're going to do this. I had a little bit more better schedule. But I can remember the first setting as a freshman, an orientation, and I guess Dr. Bennett made the little pitch. He said, guys, look on your right and look on your left, because there'll only be one out of the three of you that'll graduate from this university, unless you get with the program. And I'll never forget the three of us shook hands and said, we'll see you in 51. We're right here to graduate, and we did. All three of us that sat right there in those three seats. But that was a challenge, more of a challenge to the people. But that I can remember. Yes.
Other favorite memories of Oklahoma State?
Oh, ball games. I remember when you were on that team when Durkee made that field goal down there. And another time when I had the state senators gave me his seats down at OU, and what was the halfback that was a great running back? Terry
Brown?
No, not Terry Brown.
Which year were we talking about?
OU, he was down in Norman. And
Terry Miller?
Terry Miller. I had my orange jacket on and sitting right there in the middle of those OU people, and I stood up on the seat and I said, we're going to bury OU right here in Owen Stadium this afternoon. And boy, the hisses and the boos, and I laughed and sat down. And then he made that first run, boy, he was gone. And I turned around and said, that's the first nail in the coffin. And here came an old boy running down there. He said, I want to whip you, boy. And he got about 10 feet from me. My God, he's going to kill me, And I started grinning at him. Finally, he just shook his hand. He said, it is just a ball game, isn't it?
There's never just a ball game with OSU hookup.
No, there's no such thing.
You mentioned President Hargis earlier. What do you think about, kind of two-part question, how the university is going, and a little bit about Burns Hargis' leadership?
Oh, I think Burns Hargis is the greatest thing we've had to happen. Boy, he's out there and fighting it and trying to, I knew Burns through the old, I was on the advisory board of Bank of Oklahoma, and he was real strong. And I got to know him there a little bit, but then him, that other comedian that cut up, they have their back and forth. Who was that, the other gentleman?
The Democrat.
Yeah.
I think his name, maybe you're talking about their Sunday program they used to do.
Anyway, they gave a heck to one another. But Burns is business-wise. He can sit across the table from you, and you know who he is and what he is. He's really become a strong person. He called me about someone who would make it the great person for Tulsa. And I said, we got a good one. I said, I think we got a good one, but he said, well, yeah, but Monty, he wants to go back to teaching and do his job. And I mentioned, our president man, Howard. I said, he's working real strong for our OSU medical deal. In fact, we would not have had that OSU med unless some of those boys had got together and saved it. And but I think Burns has raised more money and for Oklahoma and for our university and for students. But I think he's making a real fine president. I really do.
And what do you think about the let's see, what's the title of our $1 billion campaign is
Yeah, it's
branding,
brand
success.
up, brand
Branding
success.
success.
Yes, I think it's good. We got a long way to go. Well, I say a long way to go. Who would ever thought we could get 600 billion? You know, now we're going to go to $1 billion.
It's hard to say $1 billion.
Yeah, I don't even. You know, and those numbers sounds like we're the federal government here.
That's right. Sound like deficit numbers,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it does. But you know, I think we keep fighting at it. We'll get there. It's not easy to do right now. The economy, Oklahoma is still in nothing. We got a little unemployment, but we have got to try to keep these students that we're graduating in Oklahoma. But how do we do that? We have to create jobs. We've got to create and help these entrepreneurial type deals that are coming, trying to get some other programs to get these boys to start their own program to do the T. Boone Pickens who didn't have a pot, and all of a sudden he had it and he got with the program. And it's there. Oil is still energy, is Oklahoma. And, our real estate values will go. I had the other night a young couple who had just bought the old Mayo Hotel and had bought that thing and revamped it. And wonderful. And now are trying to buy this old city hall. They're going to turn it in. The downtown district is wonderful. I've been working my rear end off on this Gill Crease loop, which will open up that whole area. The whole river development's all going to happen in Tulsa. And that brings people, and it brings industry. We've got to continue to work on our aviation. And OSU's had an aviation program forever. And I didn't learn to fly until I was nearly 40 years old. But I had 10 different airplanes after that, and I enjoyed it.
It's kind of a chicken and egg thing in it, Monty. You need to attract industry. You need more educated people with college degrees, and to get more college, to keep more people with college degrees in Oklahoma, you need more industry.
Well, I worked. I was one of the head boys on our Whirlpool. We brought Whirlpool to Tulsa, and that was a real kick, But there's been so many things that has to go through your Chamber of Commerce's, and then the bickering that's now happening in Tulsa should be done away with. Bickering in the nation should be done away with, Jerry. We need more people who care about our country and all tie together. This thing of negative type of advertising for anybody, I don't like it. I think it's negative. It shows ignorance on both parties when we start saying bad things about our opponent. It's just as well do the things that are good for Oklahoma and what they think's good. But how's the best way to get this city going? How's the best way to get our state going? How's the best way to get our university going? Let's talk about real problems. Education is one of them. The higher education. We need more money for higher education. Right now, we're having a fight right now over millage for Tulsa Community College, for Tulsa Tech, for the library. But we're going to fight it. We're going to win it. But we've got to have those tax dollars. Cities needs more tax dollars. How do you get more sales tax dollars? You bring more people for sales tax, and that's the only water revenue, whether it be garbage or whatever it may be, but mainly sales tax. Students.
Monty, kind of get back with your final question, Oklahoma State. What do you see currently in the future of Oklahoma State University? Are you excited about what you see and where it's going?
Yes, I am. I really am. I think that it's off and going. I'm disappointed in the Big 12. We're losing a couple of big teams, but at the same time, maybe it'll be better in the long run. You've been involved with athletics all your life. It's a key, that people are proud about their football team, their basketball team, their wrestling team, their golf team. And here we had the top golfer in the whole world right this year. It's
Amateur
wonderful.
golfer. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that surreal? And our golfing team's done well. But these are the things that we must build on. If we've got good things, let's tell people about them. And we get more of these students in here. And but we've got to do it through an organization such as the Alumni Association. I think that's the basic key is a strong alumni association. If we've got a strong alumni association, then we'll have a strong university. I think that we have got to get our president a little bit more involved with us as alumnus, that we're here for you, we're here to back you up, you back us up, politically, otherwise, whatever it takes to get the thing done.
Monty, final question, and this is a serious question. I mean, you're looking back in your life, how do you hope people remember Montie Box? I mean, how do you want to be remembered?
As someone who cares about their state and their, more than anything else, about their family. If you don't have a good family, you don't have much of anything. And I've been very lucky through my years to have a great family. I want to be known as a good cowboy. You know what I'm saying? Just put my boots on and put me away. I don't know. I think that I want people to remember me as a caring person about education, number one. As far as that part, but if you don't have your family, you know, I've always said in our company here, family comes first, whatever it is. If you need somebody, you have a health problem, out of here, we love you. We're going to take care of you. And I think family comes first, and after you have family, then you automatically comes through the education and all the other good things that come with it.
Have your OSU family?
My OSU family is always will be a family, yeah. My blood's orange, and always will be. But, you know, some of the best friends here, I've got my top salesperson is an OU grad. But let me tell you, you know, he's one of these kind of, I've got my granddaughter married an OU person. And he's one out of about 50 of us but he stands in there. He's a good guy, and I love him. But yeah, I think that we just got to become more involved, and for people just to take a few minutes and become more involved. You know, wear your orange. Be proud of it.
Monty, appreciate it. Now, surely there's some things I forgot to ask you. What are some things, seriously, is something you'd like to bring up or say that we hadn't talked about
I don't know, really, Jerry. I've rambled, I guess, but I'm proud of Oklahoma. I'm proud of our university, and I'm proud proud of what you've done through the years, Jerry. I'm proud of the Merle Rogerses and the Ray Sharps. I don't know. I think that we just need more of those type of people, and the Houston Adams and the Scott Orbisons, and you know, his son Jimmy now is taken up. And one night, you know, after we won that ball game down in Norman that year that we won, Jim Orbison was a student at OSU, and we stayed down one of the hotels down there. And Scott and we said, well, I don't know where those boys are, if they're around here someplace. And sure, we finally found them in one of the rooms, and there was young Jim Orbison laying on the floor he had a pillow, and then he had a blanket. And inside that blanket, he had a piece of that OU goal post. Oh, memories.
Great. Well, I sure appreciate it. Thanks, Monty, for taking time to visit with us. And thank you for all you've done for Oklahoma State University and the Alumni Association.
Thank you, baby.
All right.
You're my man.